person on the panel is Ranya. So Ranya is a 16-year-old author from Vasant Vihar, and she studies at the British School. Having written and published her own book titled Echoes of Tampered Time, along with being elected as the editor, as the part of the student council at the British School, Ranya enjoys expressing herself through writing. And when she is not studying, she bakes and spends time with her dog. So did you do a lot of baking during the lockdown?
Oh yes, definitely. I've actually learned how to bake several cakes, and I've made many different types of cookies, and that's been wonderful.
Okay, great. I don't know whether you're aware, but during the lockdown, we had lots of Zoom sessions, and kid you not, the most popular were the cooking sessions. We had lots and lots of people join in. So yeah, people enjoy cooking, and they've taken it up in a big way during the lockdown. Anirudh is a third. What made you start writing?
Right, so similar to Arshia, I've always had a passion for writing ever since a young age. But I properly started writing my novel when I was 14, and it all began when I had visited the Partition Museum in Amritsar during my break, and it made me feel more strongly for the India-Pakistan partition. So that's where I've started one of my first short stories, and it was about the journey of a family moving across the border from Pakistan to India. And that same year, I had also traveled to Iceland, and I was amazed by the glaciers and the natural landscapes, but I noticed that a lot of the glaciers were melting. So I wrote a story inspired by Iceland and climate change as well. So because of these personal travels, I was able to feel more strongly for various parts of the world and for historical events. So I started developing short stories around them, and eventually it developed into an entire novel.
Wonderful. And did you also find that writing was a way of, sharing what you were experiencing? Is that what prompted you to write?
Yeah, because it gave me a medium to express myself and express my thoughts effectively in a way that I felt very comfortable doing so.
Okay. Anirudh, you started writing. The sort of environment you're surrounded by, I think Ranya, because she's been traveling, the environment which she's been has encouraged her or prompted her to write about her experiences. Ranya, tell us more about where you have traveled, what you have seen, and why did you want to share all these things with the others? Because when you write and you publish something, you're sharing it with others, isn't it?
Yeah. So, getting back to what you had said about the environment, I think it plays a huge part in what you write. So, I had traveled to many places. I traveled to Iceland. I went to Amritsar, as I mentioned. I went to the Alcatraz prison, which is in the U.S. And these experiences really play a part in your writing because they inspire you and they help, stir your creativity. And specifically to the India-Pakistan one, because I'm in an Indian environment and I have so many relatives and people who I know who have lived through the event, it helps stir a lot more creativity because I talked to a lot of my relatives about it and I went, wow, I wouldn't be where I am right now if it weren't for my great-grandparents and my other family. And thoughts like these, they help you connect better to the event, and it helps you enhance your writing a lot more. And the reason I'm using this one story is because it was one of the most emotional ones in the book because of the circumstances and the environment I am in.
Okay. Did you grow up listening to stories about partition from your grandparents, and do you think somewhere that impacted you, and then when you went to the partition museum, those memories came alive? Is that that's something
exactly
that happened?
Like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, things like that have a very profound effect on people. Arshia, you started writing for Ranya, In this day and age when everything is online, and especially because of COVID, there's been a complete switch to going digital and being online. Do you think people will have time to read your book?
Well, I think this is a great question. I hope so. I put a lot of work into it, so it would be nice if they read it. But I think it's less about it being digital and more people giving time to read. Because as we know, reading is slowly becoming a dying habit, which is
That's
actually
right.
quite sad. People would rather their sources of entertainment are TV shows, movies, social media, and I think this is quite sad because reading gives you the possibility to explore your creativity and visualize beyond what's even possible on a television screen. And the fact that so many people aren't reading and seeing it more of a task is quite
Yes.
sad and unfortunate.
Do you feel that when you read something as a book, and this is the book which Ranya has written, this is the cover and this is the book, do you feel when you read a book vis-a-vis when you read something off a screen, you understand things differently?
Yes, definitely. Because the thing about reading is you can interpret the same thing in so many different ways. You can visualize it in so many different ways. Like if I say I'm sitting in a restaurant, the way that I'd picture it and the way that you'd picture it would be different.
Let me just come back to you, and this will be perhaps the last question. I mean, I'm sure we can have another session on conversation between the three of you. Ranya, you published your own book?
No, I went with a publishing company called Notion Plus.
Okay. How was that experience for you?
Well, I'd say it was a bit difficult, the publishing process, because
Okay.
first you have to send out your manuscript to many different publishing companies, and having to deal with rejections is quite tough. See, the thing is, we're all human, so
Right.
despite this being work, feelings are still involved, and then picking yourself up after those rejections and continuing to look for another publisher, the process becomes difficult. But
Right.
luckily, I was able to find a publisher, and that made the process a lot simpler.
Thank you. A quick tip from the three of you for people who are writing and who want to publish. Starting with you, Arshia, what would you tell them?
I think writing comes out best when you have something to say that's yours and something that you can truly call your own. I think when you base your writing on your experiences, on what you feel is right, and what you define that imagination to be, or what you define that truth to be, that's when I think the best creative juices flow. And I think as for when it comes to publication and all, I really agree with Anirudh. And I think you just need to find the right platform to do so. There's so many platforms now where you can display writing, and it's not just in the form of a book or an article. You can do it through script writing and all. So I think that's definitely the way to go, not just restricted to an article or a book, but to see all other platforms, different ways of writing, and I think that should keep you happy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anirudh, very quickly because we're running out of time.
If you're looking to be a writer, just keep writing. If you're looking to publish, take your time. You need a hurry to publish.
Okay.
Take
That's from somebody who's traveled down that road.
Yeah, the way the Bhagavad Gita says it is the best. Karm kiya fal ki chinta na kar. So just keep writing. The publishing the time
Okay. Rania?
I would just say go for it. Writing is, after all, a medium of self-expression. So as long as you're just doing what you love, you should be able to do it. And of course, the first draft is most important, but you can keep editing and making corrections and adding stuff afterwards, but just go for it. And when you start, that's like the biggest step you can take. And once you've taken that step, then everything should just fall into place.
Great. Thank you. That was very, very interesting listening to the three of you at different stages of your writing career, but you know, you kind of have similar experiences. So thank you for sharing that with us. And we wish you well going forward. And take care and keep writing and publishing. And perhaps we will host you as an author sometime down the road at the Vasant Vihar Lit Fest. Take care.
Thank you so much for this honor.
Okay, bye bye. And here we have Niyamit Bindra and Geeta Kumar.